How is it that Amish seniors maintain their vigor when so many others experience a decline in their later years? Lacking access to fitness centers, medications, or sophisticated gear, they've discovered a method for remaining active and sidestepping significant harm. What is the secret to their success, and what insights can I gain from their example? Ever since my initial trip to Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, an aspect of the Amish community has intrigued me. I observed elderly men and women exhibiting a nimbleness and power that appeared almost unachievable for their years. They used no walkers, seldom a cane, and there was a striking lack of the discomforted looks I had become used to seeing on the faces of older individuals in my own suburban area. My observations were more than mere casual intrigue. A study conducted by the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center uncovered a surprising figure. Even with practically no entry to contemporary healthcare facilities, Amish seniors suffer roughly 40% fewer severe injuries compared to the general American populace of equivalent age. More striking still, when injuries do happen, their rates of recovery surpass those of their English, non-Amish contemporaries by considerable degrees. This situation brings forth what I term the plain people's paradox. How do people who live without sophisticated medical devices, prescription drugs, health coverage, or even electrical power sustain superior physical robustness in their later years compared to those who can utilize the most advanced healthcare system ever known? This inconsistency questions all that I have learned about aging in America. I've been conditioned to think that physical deterioration is unavoidable, that joint surgeries and managing medications are the peak of our expectations, and that bodily weakness is just the cost of a long life. The Amish example points to a completely different narrative. In the subsequent parts, I will explore precisely how aspects of everyday Amish life cultivate an ideal environment for aging bodies to flourish. And I'll start with what might be the most basic distinction between their method and ours: their total dismissal of the contemporary idea of exercise, opting instead for something much more potent, a lifelong commitment to meaningful physical labor that acts as nature's ideal gym subscription. Whereas most Americans commute to temperature-regulated structures packed with equipment intended to replicate natural motions, Amish communities obtain their physical activity in the traditional manner. They work for it. According to researchers at the University of Maryland, the typical Amish adult takes between 14,000 and 18,000 steps each day. This is approximately 3 times the amount most Americans achieve, and all without the aid of any fitness tracking devices. Yet, walking is merely the start. A day on an Amish farm entails lifting, transporting, pushing, pulling, ascending, squatting, and balancing, the very actions for which personal trainers bill city dwellers $75 per hour. The distinction lies in the fact that Amish physical activity is purposeful, not detached exercise. Consider a barn raising, a communal undertaking where numerous individuals construct a building in just one day. This activity incorporates almost every motion pattern that physical therapists recommend for preserving mobility. At one such event, I observed seniors in their 70s managing timber, ascending ladders, and keeping their balance on roof trusses. "You city folk are amusing," an elderly woman remarked to me as she kneaded dough. "You drive to a building to walk on a machine that doesn't go anywhere, then you drive back home." Her comment strikes at something deep. Contemporary exercise is an invention born from the removal of natural movement from our daily routines. We substituted walking with driving, lifting with machinery, and standing with sitting, and now we question why specialized facilities are needed to ensure our bodies function correctly. A study from Ohio State University discovered that the hand grip strength of 65-year-old Amish farmers was comparable to that of an average 30-year-old non-Amish man. The balance assessments were even more noteworthy. When tested on their ability to stand on one leg, a crucial indicator of fall likelihood, 70-year-old Amish individuals averaged 38 seconds, which is over twice the norm for their age bracket. What accounts for this disparity? It is not attributable to genetics or particular eating habits. Instead, it is their daily labor, which demands constant, diverse movements engaging the whole physique. Their fitness center is their environment. A dairy farmer executes more squats during a morning's milking than most Americans complete in a month of exercise classes. A gardener sustains a hip hinge posture, what fitness professionals term a functional deadlift, for extended periods, fortifying precisely the muscles required to avert falls. A woodworker cultivates coordination and fine motor skills that maintain the sharpness of neural connections well into his advanced years. On one occasion, I inquired with a group of Amish men about retirement. My query was greeted with bewildered expressions until an older gentleman began to chuckle. Retire from what? From life? The cows are indifferent to the number of birthdays I've celebrated. His remark highlights another crucial distinction. Within Amish communities, physical labor does not cease at age 65. It merely transforms. Younger individuals progressively assume the more physically taxing duties, while older members transition to essential, yet less arduous responsibilities. There is no abrupt cessation of activity, no sudden shift from being a worker to a non-worker, a change that frequently accelerates physical deterioration. This incremental adjustment keeps aging bodies active without overburdening them. An 80-year-old may no longer till the fields, but he will still gather eggs, repair harnesses, or instruct his grandchildren in woodworking. His body stays involved in meaningful motion, which sustains strength, coordination, and cardiovascular well-being. Contemporary medicine now acknowledges a truth the Amish have understood for generations. The human physique degenerates far more rapidly from inactivity than from activity. Our muscles, bones, and cardiovascular systems were engineered for daily labor. When we eliminate that labor, even with the well-meaning intention of relaxing in our later years, we inadvertently hasten the very decline we aim to avoid. But physical movement is just one piece of the puzzle. The only product I'll ever promote on my channel is a book by Claude Davis, a veteran prepper, about 126 superfoods and preservation methods from crisis times like the Great Depression and wartime that are impossible to find elsewhere. I decided to promote his book because we are the last generation able to share these techniques and superfoods to our children or grandchildren. It would be a shame to see this information about highly nutritious foods and preservation methods to survive crisis disappear. You can also find a book about herbal remedies from Nicole Pellion on their store. If you're watching this on TV, you can look up my channel, Frugal Solutions, on your phone or tablet and find the books by clicking the link in my channel description or any other video description. The Amish method for aging gracefully also encompasses an element that most Americans relinquished many years ago, a connection with work that persists beyond retirement. In prevalent American society, retirement is lauded as a destination. Following decades of labor, we are informed that we have merited the privilege to cease working. Television advertisements depict cheerful retirees engaged in golf, unwinding on sandy shores, and undertaking minimal productive activity. This is portrayed as the ultimate recompense. Yet, could this notion of retirement actually be detrimental to our physical and mental well-being? Amish societies do not acknowledge retirement in the way we comprehend it. There isn't a set age at which individuals cease to contribute. Rather, duties are reassigned based on capability and sagacity, not chronological age. Research published in the Journal of Gerontology revealed that cultures lacking formal retirement structures exhibit markedly lower incidences of cognitive deterioration and physical decline among their older members. The study contrasted Amish communities with comparable genetic makeups, but differing ways of life, discovering that those who sustained meaningful work into their later years experienced 63% less reduction in muscle mass and 42% superior cognitive abilities. A 79-year-old Amish woodworker articulated it plainly: the hands must continue to move or they will forget how. This insight holds medical veracity. The neural connections governing precise actions necessitate consistent use to stay operational. When we cease to utilize these connections, be it for labor, handicrafts, or other skilled endeavors, they start to degrade. It is not merely muscular strength that wanes, but also the brain's capacity to orchestrate those muscles. The Amish method is not concerned with compelling elderly people to undertake duties exceeding their capacities. Rather, it focuses on establishing a seamless shift in responsibilities. A farmer in his 80s might cease to plow fields, but he will engage in sorting seeds, mending implements, or instructing his grandchildren. His labor transforms, but never vanishes. This progressive system fulfills several functions. It sustains physical capability through ongoing use. It conserves mental acuity by necessitating problem solving, and perhaps most crucially, it fosters social bonds and a sense of purpose, two elements now recognized as vital for a long life. Modern research confirms that having purpose significantly impacts how our bodies age. A University of Michigan study tracked over 6,000 adults and found that those with strong purpose in life were 2.4 times less likely to develop weak grip strength and 1.6 times less likely to develop slow walking speeds as they aged. This finding shouldn't surprise me. The human body maintains strength for the activities we regularly perform. When I signal to my body that its strength is no longer needed by retiring to leisure, it responds by reducing that strength. It's efficient but harmful. One study contrasted the hand strength of Amish artisans with that of retired office employees of comparable ages. At age 75, the Amish exhibited grip strength that was, on average, 43% greater than that of their peers. This variation was not due to a genetic benefit, but simply to sustained activity. Certain retirement establishments have begun to recognize this insight. Advanced facilities now integrate purposeful work initiatives where occupants cultivate gardens, instruct courses, or produce crafts for charitable causes. The outcomes are remarkable. Facilities offering such programs document 37% fewer falls and a 28% reduction in medication consumption when compared to conventional activity schemes. The crucial difference is purpose. The mind and body react distinctively when involved in endeavors with significant results as opposed to passive amusement. My preferred illustration involves an 85-year-old man who, owing to health conditions, can no longer perform physical labor. His current role is to assess the ripeness of fruits and vegetables at the local community market. His seasoned eye and touch ascertain which items are prepared for picking. His task demands little physical power, but draws upon decades of expertise and ensures his continued connection to the life of the community. The takeaway is not that we must all forsake retirement. Instead, perhaps I should reevaluate what retirement means. Rather than perceiving it as a complete cessation of work, I could envision it as a shift towards varied forms of contribution that align with my changing abilities, all while preserving my sense of purpose. This perspective aligns seamlessly with another aspect of Amish well-being, their connection with natural slumber and darkness, an element that contemporary existence has profoundly disturbed. When daylight fades in Amish territory, a noteworthy phenomenon occurs. Genuine darkness descends. There is no blue illumination from electronic displays, no street lamps projecting an orange hue through window panes, and no glowing LED clock displays on bedside tables. Only profound natural darkness signals to the physique that it is time for repose. This elementary truth could account for one of the most astonishing health benefits observed in Amish societies. Sleep investigators from the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center discovered that Amish adults achieve an average of 9.3 hours of sleep nightly, almost 2 hours more than the typical American. Crucially, they also spend roughly 1.7 additional hours in the deep sleep phases, during which the body undertakes its most vital restorative processes. The key is not merely that they sleep for a longer duration, but that their sleep is of higher quality. The human physique, developed in concert with the solar cycles, clarifies a sleep scientist who investigates traditional societies. We have only experienced pervasive artificial illumination for approximately 100 years, which is insufficient time for our biological systems to adjust. Lacking artificial light to prolong evening engagements, Amish families usually commence their preparations for sleep soon after the sun sets. Their bodies react by secreting melatonin according to a natural timetable, initiating a series of effects within their systems. The production of growth hormone rises, inflammation subsides, and the mending of muscle tissue quickens. These biological functions have a direct bearing on the recovery from and prevention of injuries. A study featured in the Journal of Orthopedic Research revealed that individuals with ideal deep sleep patterns exhibited 41% quicker healing from muscle damage and 27% superior preservation of bone density when contrasted with those who had disturbed sleep rhythms. For aging physiques, these advantages of sleep become even more vital. The deep sleep phases govern the hormones responsible for sustaining muscle mass and bone density, two elements directly associated with severe injuries in older adults. The more these sleep cycles are interrupted by artificial illumination and erratic timetables, the more these safeguarding elements are reduced. A retired physician who relocated to an Amish area observed that her persistent joint discomfort lessened within weeks, even with increased physical labor. The reason was that her sleep quality significantly improved, free from the electronic interferences of her former city existence. The disparity between Amish sleep habits and contemporary American practices is pronounced. The typical American consults their mobile phone 58 minutes prior to sleeping and within 10 minutes of awakening. The blue light emitted by these gadgets specifically inhibits melatonin secretion, thereby postponing and interrupting deep sleep phases. I once observed an Amish grandmother chuckle upon learning about our sleep enhancers and medicines. You exhaust yourselves throughout the day with your coffee and artificial lights, then you resort to pills to compel sleep at night. Why not simply sleep when darkness falls? Her straightforward reasoning pierces through our intricate association with rest. We have established a society that contends with our inherent sleep rhythms, subsequently fostering an entire sector of goods designed to aid sleep despite these interferences. Researchers at Harvard Medical School recently discovered that older individuals who aligned their sleep habits with natural light patterns for merely 2 weeks demonstrated quantifiable enhancements in balance regulation and response speed, two crucial elements in averting falls. These subjects did not increase their physical activity or alter their eating habits. They merely rectified their sleep. The Amish method for sleep is uncomplicated. They awaken with the sunrise, engage in physical labor during daylight, shun stimulants such as caffeine, relax with family as night descends, and slumber in genuinely dark settings. This natural rhythm permits their bodies to fully activate restorative functions that ward off injuries and preserve strength. For those of us disinclined to renounce electricity, even modest moves towards this sleep model yield advantages. Diminishing blue light exposure during evening hours, fashioning darker sleep settings, and setting up more regular sleep timetables can assist our bodies in attaining more recuperative sleep phases. The link between slumber and robust aging is directly connected to another health benefit seen in the Amish, a conventional diet that fortifies bones from within. The standard American strategy for bone wellness includes calcium tablets, vitamin D capsules, and potentially a prescribed drug if bone density assessments show problems. Conversely, Amish societies preserve stronger bones late into life without undergoing a DEXA scan or consuming a supplement. Their method is rooted in their eating habits and food choices. Amish kitchens yield foods that inherently safeguard aging bones and joints, employing traditional cooking techniques that contemporary nutritional science is only starting to comprehend. These are not unusual superfoods or intricate culinary creations, but rather basic, everyday items prepared to optimize their nutritional content. Studies from Tufts University found that elderly Amish have bone density measurements approximately 20% higher than age-matched urban peers. When researchers controlled for genetics, the difference remained, pointing to lifestyle factors rather than hereditary advantages. A primary element is their intake of unpasteurized cultured dairy items. Whereas numerous Americans have given up dairy or opted for ultra-pasteurized alternatives, conventional Amish diets feature fresh milk, homemade yogurt, kefir, and raw cheeses. These food sources supply not only calcium, but also vitamin K2, an essential nutrient that guides calcium to the bones instead of permitting it to accumulate in arteries or joints. My physician advised me to consume calcium tablets, recounted an urban guest visiting an Amish settlement. Subsequently, I observed my Amish hostess consume a glass of fresh milk, eat homemade yogurt, and apply raw butter to homemade bread, all in one meal. It dawned on me that I was attempting to obtain from medication what she derived from her breakfast. Beyond dairy, Amish kitchens frequently prepare fermented vegetables such as sauerkraut, pickled beets, and lacto-fermented cucumbers. These items foster a digestive setting that improves the uptake of minerals. A study from the University of Wisconsin discovered that consistent intake of naturally fermented foods boosts calcium absorption by as much as 30% when compared to consuming the same minerals without the accompaniment of fermented items. The Amish diet inherently supplies numerous minerals essential for bone construction, in addition to calcium. Their dependence on household gardens yields magnesium, potassium, silica, and various other trace minerals vital for bone development. Their method of growing and consuming food directly from their soil ensures these vegetables possess considerably more nutrients than produce bought from conventional stores, which is often cultivated in nutrient-poor earth. Another unexpected contributor to bone strength found in Amish culinary practices is homemade bone broth, a fundamental ingredient in their soups, stews, and sauces. This customary food item is rich in collagen, glucosamine, and other substances that bolster not only bone density, but also joint wellness. An examination of the nutritional content of traditional bone broths indicates they possess many of the same elements present in costly joint supplements, yet in forms that are more readily absorbed by the body. However, it is not solely their food choices, but also their manner of eating. Amish meals are generally eaten as a family unit, devoid of the tension and rush that typify many American dining experiences. This is significant because stress hormones such as cortisol actively degrade bone tissue. Consistent, unhurried meals contribute to maintaining healthy cortisol levels. Their practice of consuming 3 substantial meals per day also promotes bone health by ensuring consistent nourishment without the fluctuations in insulin often triggered by frequent snacking. Studies indicate that stable insulin levels aid in preserving healthy bone regeneration, whereas the erratic pattern of constant snacking can interfere with this mechanism. What I find especially noteworthy is that the majority of Amish families do not consciously eat with bone health in mind. These foods are merely part of their established culture. Nevertheless, the nutritional composition of their customary diet perfectly matches what advanced research currently advises for staving off osteoporosis and preserving strength in later life. This wholesome diet complements their daily physical exertion. Having nourished their bones internally, Amish seniors then fortify them through patterns of movement that numerous contemporary exercise regimens are now attempting to emulate, particularly in their gardens, where everyday cultivation provides ideal balance conditioning. While Americans invest vast sums in medical alarm systems, home care assistance, and residential care establishments, the Amish depend on a method that is both more straightforward and more potent, a community that remains vigilant. Social detachment is now acknowledged as a significant contributor to severe injuries among older adults. Research from the University of Michigan indicated that elderly persons living in isolation are 2.7 times more prone to experiencing falls that necessitate hospital care compared to those who maintain consistent social engagement. The causes are twofold, encompassing both mental and functional aspects. Feelings of depression and solitude result in diminished physical engagement, whereas the absence of companionship often allows minor issues to worsen before they are dealt with. Amish societies address this issue inherently through their customs of visitation. It is typical for an older individual to have several visitors daily, which establishes a spontaneous surveillance network more dependable than any technological apparatus. In your world, an old person can lie on the floor for days before someone finds them, one Amish woman observed. In our world, if grandmother doesn't show up for breakfast, 15 people notice immediately. Her observation highlights a critical difference. The average American senior living alone might go days without meaningful human contact. In contrast, Amish elders are integrated into multi-generational households and community activities that guarantee regular interaction. These interactions serve multiple health functions. First, they provide practical assistance that prevents risky situations, helping with difficult chores, maintaining the home environment, and addressing small problems before they become dangerous. Second, they offer psychological benefits that directly impact physical health, reducing stress hormones that can impair balance and coordination. Research from Johns Hopkins University found that seniors with daily social contact showed 26% better performance on mobility tests compared to isolated individuals with similar medical profiles. The difference wasn't due to more exercise or better medical care, but to the neurological and hormonal benefits of regular human connection. The Amish visiting system works because it's reciprocal rather than charity-based. Even elderly members who can no longer do physical work contribute by minding children, sharing knowledge, or simply providing conversation. This maintains dignity and purpose, which research increasingly shows are fundamental to physical health in aging. One particularly effective aspect of the Amish approach is their rotation system. Instead of one primary caregiver who might become overwhelmed, responsibilities are distributed across the community. One person brings a meal, another helps with laundry, a third stops by for evening visits. This sustainable approach prevents caregiver burnout while ensuring comprehensive support. Modern health systems are beginning to recognize the power of this model. Some innovative programs now use volunteer networks to create artificial versions of the natural Amish support system. One such program in Minnesota reported a 35% reduction in emergency room visits among participating seniors compared to similar populations without community support. What these programs find challenging, however, is replicating the genuine relationships that make the Amish system work. It's not just about checking whether someone has fallen. It's about the human connection that gives life meaning and motivates people to remain active and engaged. The Amish approach to aging creates what researchers call interdependence, a state where everyone both gives and receives support based on their abilities. This contrasts sharply with the independence to dependence transition many American seniors experience, where they go from complete self-sufficiency to total dependence, often with devastating psychological effects that accelerate physical decline. This community-based system connects directly to the Amish approach to pain and discomfort, another area where their traditional wisdom might have something important to teach me about preventing serious injuries as I age. If I turn on the TV for an hour, I can count how many commercials promise to eliminate my pain. Modern America has declared war on discomfort, creating an entire industry dedicated to numbing any twinge or ache I might feel. But the Amish approach to pain is radically different and may explain their lower injury rates. Instead of immediately suppressing pain signals, Amish culture generally treats pain as information, a message from the body that deserves attention rather than silencing. This approach creates greater body awareness that helps prevent more serious injuries. Medical researchers from the University of Pennsylvania studied how different communities respond to minor pain. They found that those who immediately took pain relievers for minor discomfort were 3.4 times more likely to develop compensatory injuries, injuries that occur when we change our movement patterns to avoid discomfort in one area, thereby straining another. When an Amish farmer feels back stiffness, the typical response is to modify movements temporarily while addressing the cause, perhaps changing a work technique or sleeping position. The pain serves as a teacher rather than an enemy. Meanwhile, many Americans mask similar discomfort with medication, continuing movements that might worsen the underlying issue until it becomes a serious problem. One Amish elder was genuinely confused when shown a television pain medication commercial. "Why would you want to stop your body from telling you something is wrong?" he asked. "That's like putting tape over your car's warning lights instead of fixing what caused them." His simple analogy highlights the fundamental difference in philosophy. In many modern households, success means eliminating pain signals. In traditional Amish thinking, success means understanding and addressing what those signals are trying to communicate. This approach shows remarkable results. Research from Ohio State University found that traditional communities with lower pain medication use showed 65% fewer compensatory injuries among elderly members compared to communities with high medication use, even when controlling for other variables. The Amish approach doesn't mean enduring severe pain unnecessarily. When serious injuries or conditions occur, they do seek appropriate treatment. The difference lies in their response to the minor everyday discomforts that serve as early warning systems for our bodies. One physical therapist who regularly treats both Amish and non-Amish patients noticed a striking pattern. Her Amish patients typically sought help for the actual cause of pain, while many non-Amish patients came in only after developing secondary problems from working through masked pain. "My non-Amish patients often say they took pain relievers for weeks or months before coming to see me," she explained. "By then, they've developed compensation patterns that are harder to correct than the original issue would have been." The Amish approach to pain also includes social dimensions that help prevent overexertion. Community members pay attention to each other's movements and offer assistance when someone appears to be in discomfort. This creates a natural limitation system that prevents people from pushing through pain in ways that might cause lasting damage. Modern medicine is beginning to recognize the wisdom in this balanced approach to pain. New guidelines from several medical associations now recommend more careful consideration before prescribing pain medications for minor discomfort, acknowledging that pain can serve important protective functions. For those of us seeking to apply this wisdom, it doesn't mean avoiding all pain relief. Rather, it suggests pausing before automatically silencing pain signals to ask what those signals might be trying to communicate. This mindful approach to discomfort creates body awareness that could help prevent more serious injuries down the road. This connection between physical sensation and health extends beyond pain to another aspect of Amish life that modern Americans rarely experience: regular exposure to changing weather conditions and natural temperatures, which create surprising benefits for aging bodies. In modern America, we've created a remarkably consistent indoor environment. Whether it's 10 deg or 100 deg outside, most of us experience a steady 68 to 72 deg in our homes, offices, and cars. While comfortable, this temperature monotony might be compromising our physical resilience as we age. Amish communities, with their limited use of heating and cooling technology, experience much greater temperature variation throughout the day and year. This regular exposure to changing conditions creates physiological adaptations that strengthen cardiovascular response and improve circulation, key factors in injury recovery and prevention. Research from the University of Copenhagen found that older adults who regularly experience natural temperature fluctuations showed 23% better vascular responsiveness than those who lived in consistently temperature-controlled environments. This improved blood flow delivers more nutrients to muscles and joints while removing inflammatory compounds more efficiently. During winter months, Amish homes might maintain temperatures of 50 to 60 degrees rather than the 70+ degrees common in most American homes. This mild cold exposure activates brown fat tissue, which burns regular fat to generate heat. The process improves metabolic health and reduces inflammation throughout the body. On my first winter visit to an Amish community, I arrived bundled in multiple layers, while community members worked outdoors in simple jackets. Their bodies had adapted to the cold through regular exposure, while mine required artificial protection after years in climate-controlled environments. "Your people are always complaining about being cold," one Amish woman told me with a smile. "But you never give your bodies a chance to remember how to stay warm on their own." Her observation contains scientific truth. The human body naturally adapts to gradual temperature changes, developing greater efficiency in maintaining core temperature. However, these adaptive mechanisms weaken when rarely used, leaving many modern seniors vulnerable to temperature stresses that their Amish counterparts handle with ease. The benefits extend beyond comfort. Researchers from the University of Michigan found that seniors with greater temperature adaptability recovered from joint injuries 31% faster than those with poor temperature tolerance. The improved circulation and reduced inflammation associated with natural temperature adaptation directly support healing processes. Seasonal changes in activity also contribute to Amish health. Unlike the relatively consistent exercise patterns common in modern fitness programs, Amish physical activity naturally varies with the seasons. This creates periods of higher and lower intensity that allow for recovery while maintaining base fitness. The seasonal variation naturally produces what exercise scientists now call periodization, a training approach that cycles between different intensities to optimize physical adaptation. Modern athletes deliberately program this variation, while Amish lifestyles create it organically through seasonal work demands. Perhaps most importantly, regular exposure to weather changes forces the body to maintain responsive circulatory systems rather than allowing them to become rigid and less adaptive. This circulatory flexibility becomes increasingly important as we age, directly affecting how well our bodies respond to injuries when they do occur. Some forward-thinking physicians have begun prescribing temperature training for their patients, gradually increasing exposure to natural temperature variations rather than living in consistently climate-controlled environments. Early results show improvements in circulation, inflammation markers, and recovery capacity. One cardiologist who studied Amish health patterns noted, "We've insulated ourselves from normal environmental stresses that actually keep our bodies strong." It's similar to how excessive cleanliness can weaken immune systems. Some exposure to natural challenges keeps our physiological systems robust. This weather adaptation connects to almost every aspect of injury prevention. Better circulation supports stronger bones, more resilient muscles, and more effective immune responses. Reduced inflammation improves joint function and speeds healing when injuries do occur. All of which raises an important question. How might I incorporate some of this Amish wisdom into my modern life without giving up the conveniences I value? That's exactly what I'll explore in my final section. After exploring how Amish communities maintain physical resilience into old age, the obvious question emerges, can I apply these principles without giving up electricity, cars, and smartphones? The answer is a qualified yes, with some creativity and intentionality. Let me be realistic. Few of us will trade our modern homes for farms or abandon our careers for an agrarian lifestyle. But I can selectively incorporate key elements of the Amish approach in ways that fit my contemporary life. Research from Stanford University's Longevity Center found that adults who adopted just 3 traditional movement patterns into their daily routines showed measurable improvements in balance, grip strength, and injury recovery rates within 8 weeks. These weren't intense workout regimens, but simple movement habit changes. The most effective adaptations focus on movement integration rather than isolated exercise. Instead of adding a 30-minute workout to an otherwise sedentary day, I look for ways to weave natural movement throughout my activities. Take stairs instead of elevators, garden instead of hiring landscapers, hand wash dishes occasionally rather than always using the dishwasher. One rehabilitation specialist who studied Amish movement patterns developed a simple 5 daily movements protocol that mimics the essential physical patterns of traditional farm work. The program includes loaded carries, like carrying groceries, natural squatting, gardening or floor cleaning, overhead reaching, hanging laundry or shelving items, balance challenges, walking on uneven ground, and gentle twisting motions, household tasks requiring rotation. Sleep represents another area where modest changes yield significant benefits. While most of us won't abandon electric lights entirely, reducing blue light exposure in the evening and creating darker sleeping environments can dramatically improve sleep quality. Participants in a University of Chicago sleep study who simply used blackout curtains and removed electronic devices from bedrooms increased their deep sleep by 53 minutes per night on average. I taped aluminum foil over my bedroom windows as an experiment, admitted one converted city dweller. My wife thought I was crazy until she noticed her own joint pain improving after just 2 weeks of sleeping in true darkness. Nutritional wisdom from Amish kitchens can be adapted through simple additions rather than complete diet overhauls. Incorporating naturally fermented foods several times weekly, yogurt, sauerkraut, or kimchi, provides many of the gut health benefits that support bone and joint strength. Home-prepared bone broth used in soups and stews delivers joint-supporting compounds in forms more bioavailable than supplements. The social dimensions of Amish health present greater challenges in our scattered modern lives, but offer profound benefits when implemented. Creating regular check-in systems with friends and family, not just electronic messages, but actual in-person visits, builds the human connections that both motivate physical activity and provide practical assistance when needed. Perhaps most important is adopting the Amish perspective on purpose and contribution throughout life. Finding ways to remain needed and valuable to others, whether through volunteer work, mentoring, or family contributions, maintains the psychological drive to remain physically capable. One gerontologist who specializes in active aging put it simply, "The body follows the mind." When we believe we have reasons to stay strong and mobile, we generally do. The Amish didn't design their lifestyle for health purposes. Their ways emerge from religious conviction and cultural tradition, but the physical benefits their lifestyle produces offer valuable lessons for a society struggling with the challenges of aging. By selectively integrating elements of their approach, I might create something powerful, modern lives that include the best of contemporary convenience while preserving the essential physical practices that keep me strong, stable, and resilient as I age. Aging doesn't have to mean breaking down. The Amish remind me that strength and stability can come from simple, consistent habits, ones that keep the body moving and the spirit grounded.